Sonic Adventure came out in 1998 in Japan and in 1999 for the rest of the world. It was actually a launch title for the Dreamcast, Sega's final console before dropping out of the hardware business in order to focus more on software. While the Dreamcast flopped, Sega was still making sure to put out some fantastic games. Crazy Taxi, Power Stone, Space Channel 5, Jet Set Radio, Samba de Amigo, Shenmue, Super Magnetic Neo, which actually was not well received, but I remember greatly loving it. And this game, along with its sequel, helped to leave a lasting impression of this console, and while it may be gone, its legacy lives on. Some of the other games I've mentioned eventually made their way over to other consoles with ports to PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, and this game is no exception, because in 2003, Sonic Adventure received a remaster on Nintendo's Indigo lunchbox known as Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut, containing updated visuals and lighting, mission mode, a collection of Sonic's Game Gear titles, and a special unlockable when the game is 100% completed. This is the version of the game I grew up on, and thus this is what we'll be looking at for this video. So without further ado, here are 5 reasons to love and hate Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut. The playstyles for Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are perfect. They don't exactly feel like their Genesis counterparts, but they still retain just enough difference in control to maintain their own identity and not feel too samey. Sonic is super fast, has his signature speed dash, a homing attack to help him target enemies in midair, and later acquires the light speed dash, which allows him to plow through lines of rings and enemies at the speed of light. Tails can fly and do this neat little tail whip attack, and Knuckles can glide through the air, punch enemies, and later on he can dig with his shovel claw upgrade. He can also do this weird homing attack with the fighting gloves, I think? I don't know, I never go after them because they look stupid and you don't need them. The way their levels are set up also emphasizes their abilities. Sonic races through each stage with his objective being to get to the goal as fast as possible, his sense of speed and urgency giving the player a reason to zoom through the levels. Tails is very similar, except he only gets one chunk out of Sonic's levels, and his objective is to race another character. Mostly Sonic, but for Speed Highway, it's Eggman. The game has a rubber band AI, so there isn't too much urgency, but it is fun to hear the taunts from Sonic and Eggman when Tails passes them, and vice versa. Hey, hey, hey! Knuckles is all about hunting down emerald shards using his unique abilities, and as such, taking your time and exploring is a huge part of his levels and gives you a great opportunity to see different areas of different levels that you couldn't see before. I feel these 3 really round out the package nicely, and if this game only focused on these 3, it would probably be better received to this day. But unfortunately, let me preface this by saying that other than one specific character, it's not that bad. But after Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, the quality of gameplay starts to go downhill. Let's start with Amy. She may be a hedgehog, but she is nowhere near as fast as Sonic. On top of that, she can't defend herself when she jumps, and no spin dash or anything. She's a proper lady and will act as such. Therefore, her levels are much slower and methodical. This would make things pretty boring if she had to get to the goal like Sonic, so instead we're stuck playing a game of tag with a robot named Zero. I mean, it works, thanks to Amy's hammer, we do have a way to defend ourselves, but I don't know, man. I just find myself getting frustrated every time I play as her. She does get upgrades to her hammer, but I never find any use to them, and it doesn't help that with only 3 levels in her story, you don't get a lot of chances to even put them to good use. For the most part, things do pick up with Gamma. He has a laser he can use to shoot long and short-range projectiles. He also gets an upgrade that allows him to hover over short distances. Overall, I do think this is decent, and it's fun seeing how many shots I can get in on a single combo. It's also hilarious to me that the first level in a story has me shooting a bunch of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles dolls, but where Gamma falls flat is his boss fights. But we'll get into that in a later segment. Then there's Big. Moving on. Look, I'm not a fan of fishing, and that's all there is to Big's levels. I get it, he's a thick boy, so he's not exactly acrobatic compared to everyone else. But couldn't this have been an optional side quest or some sort of upgrade or reward? I don't want to spend all day fishing, And honestly, once you figure out the trick to catching things, the game gets way too easy. Oh, and my favorite thing, if you do happen to screw up and break your line, you lose a life and have to start the level over. Now that's bullshit. I just talked about how much I love the characters' gameplay. Well, some of them. But this wouldn't work without the stellar level design. Somehow Sonic Team managed to create levels that could cater to not one, not two, but 6 different characters with different controls and playstyles, and still make each time you re-enter a level feel like it was uniquely made for that character. Tails has dash panels in the air to give him speed boosts and unlock shortcuts. Knuckles gets areas that are more spread out. Amy gets new sections that take advantage of her moveset. Big actually gets to see the bodies of water that Sonic and friends just casually pass over like they're nothing. There was a lot of effort to not make these levels feel repetitive, and in my opinion, it worked. I never got sick of revisiting Lost World, Wendy Valley, and Final Egg. Kudos to you, Sonic Team. For as much as I just praise the level design, there is one level I absolutely hate, and that's the Sky Deck. First things first, the music is an absolute banger, and this level of Sonic, it's not the worst, but man, does it just drag on. And this whole section where the gravity constantly shifts can just fuck right off. Then there's Tails. Every level up to this point teaches the player that they can exploit the level design. But here there's so much bottomless pit, so much room for error, and so many tight spaces that people who aren't used to the game are bound to waste lives screwing up. I'm used to this level, and even I still end up paying severe consequences from time to time for my own confidence. If this was the intention, Sega, you guys are evil, but well done. But if it wasn't, what the hell, man? Don't punish the player for doing things they were rewarded for in previous and future levels. It's not cool. Then we get Knuckles' go at the level. Absolute garbage. When Knuckles starts the level, you are immediately faced with a lever that controls the tilt of the ship and thus the gravity, which timeline-wise makes for a nice nod to Sonic's playthrough because he is also currently exploring the Sky Deck, and now we know Knuckles is the one making the journey more difficult. But in terms of Knuckles' portion of the level, no. Just no. To locate specific Master Emerald shards, you have to change the tilt of the ship, which means sometimes you're going to spend 2 minutes trying to figure out where an Emerald shard could be, only to find out that the ship has to be tilted the opposite direction to reveal the shard. So you have to go all the way back up to the top, just to change directions, which can be even harder because depending on what direction the ship is tilted, it can severely limit the range of your glide.
I hate that!
Sky Deck!
So all in all, Sky Deck is D tier at best. Sonic's portion is the only saving grace. As stated earlier, I think Gamma's gameplay isn't as bad as Big and Amy, but I'll say it now, he has nothing on the main trio. But his story, on the other hand, Gamma doesn't really have much to do with the main plot of Sonic Adventure, except that he was built by Dr. Eggman to be a crewmate on his flying fortress, the Egg Carrier, and is tasked with finding Froggy, Big's buddy who just so happened to swallow Chaos's tail, Chaos being the big baddie featured in the game. Gamma's story, however, is a tale of redemption. In the beginning, everything is business as usual for him. He carries out Eggman's missions without any hesitation until he meets Amy Rose. Gamma is instructed to retrieve the bird she's carrying, and when he goes to confront her in her cell, she questions why he would try to do something horrible without even knowing the reason why. Then after she gives Gamma a lesson in empathy, the birdie she's been protecting flies into Gamma's field of view, and this triggers something in the robot, leading him to letting her out of the jail cell. Afterwards, Gamma is instructed to fight Sonic and Tails, and just as the latter two are about to deal the finishing blow, Amy jumps in to protect him. This helps Gamma understand the concept of friendship, and from that point on, he abandons Dr. Eggman and sets out to free his E-Series brethren and the animals trapped inside them, ending with him taking out his big brother and himself, finally receiving his redemption. Personally, what I think happened is that if you notice when the birdie flies into Gamma's face, he shakes violently for a second. I think he recognized the little guy and realized that there was one inside him as well. Along with this, the cutscene beforehand showed us that Dr. Eggman was using these birds to turn Gamma's brethren, and more importantly his older brother, into monstrous machines. All of this, along with Amy protecting him after Eggman abandoned him to complete his other toy, Chaos, sparked Gamma's conscience and gave him the strength he needed to change his fate. Like I said, overall, this doesn't do much to affect the main story of the game. In some ways, it's pointless. But I really do think that this is one of the best character arcs in Sonic's history, and I like how it's not afraid to get serious, but not too serious. I mean, with the voice acting and dialogue, I can only take this so seriously.
Resistance is futile. Give me the bird.
But I still like the tone of the story, and I hope we can see something like this in a Sonic game in the future. If there is one thing about this game that I really hate, it's the boss fights. Overall, there are only like 3 I like. Chaos 2, Zero, and the final boss of the game, Perfect Chaos. Every other boss fight can go die in a hole. The first boss fight of the game, Chaos Zero, is okay, but it's easy. The Egg Hornet is okay, but you have to fight it twice, and the strategy is exactly the same in beating it. Same with Chaos 4, which you fight 3 times, and then there's Chaos 6, which you also fight 3 times. 3 times. No Chaos 1, no Chaos 3, no 5, nope. Let's just make me fight this giant freaking slow-ass water frog 3 times. Thanks, Sega. Now, it's true you can beat it quickly if you know how to use Sonic and Knuckles' upgrades, and big is a joke. But come on, the game does nothing to tell you about this. The Egg Viper is okay, but pulls a real dick move after defeating it that, if you screw up, will lead to you having to redo the entire fight all over again. And the character battles, along with the E-Series battles as Gamma, piss easy. Yeah, the boss fights just leave a lot to be desired in my opinion. While the sound mixing needs some heavy polish, the music in this game is seriously some of the best in the series, if not in all of gaming. Emerald Coast, Windy Valley, Amy's section in Twinkle Park, and Speed Highway stand out as some of my absolute favorites. The game has that nice balance of hard rock, which will become a staple of the Sonic series for a few years, and more orchestral themes such as the one in Lost World, and it really helps to give this game a true sense of atmosphere. Plus, the main theme of Sonic Adventure, Open Your Heart, is still so iconic to me. I know a lot of people love Live and Learn, but Open Your Heart just resonates with me a little bit more. Maybe it's because this was my first 3D Sonic game. I don't know, but I just love the OP here so much. Overall, even if you aren't a Sonic fan, I highly recommend looking up this game's soundtrack and giving some of the songs a listen. Or even look for some remixes, because whether they're official or fan-made, they're fantastic. First off, jank is a weird word, so what do I mean by jank? In some ways, I mean lack of polish, glitches, collision issues, sound mixing problems, just overall moments that make a player step back and go, what just happened? And unfortunately, Sonic Adventure has a lot of this. Sometimes going into a spin dash causes Sonic to hug a wall and eventually clip through the ground. Sometimes Knuckles can't figure out where to climb. Sometimes the animations just don't look right altogether, whether in-game or in a cutscene. In Sonic Adventure, the jank is real. And sadly, seeing as I'm playing an enhanced port, you think they would have fixed it before release, but no, to this day, the game still has a lot of technical issues. And while not broken or unplayable, I do sometimes find myself wondering what the hell just happened. Although it is funny when you play Lost World and you get chased down by this big boulder. If you slow down, the boulder slows down with you. At first it's almost like, wow, there goes my sense of urgency, but honestly it's just hilarious and it cracks me up every time. Nowadays, I almost find myself enjoying these little hiccups, but for someone new playing the game or someone who paid full retail price when it first came out, I can definitely see how it would have been frustrating. Oh boy. Alright, 2 things. 1, I'm going to be doing my last hate point now because nobody wants to end the video on a sour note. And 2, please, before you dislike my video and bomb me in the comments about how I'm stupid and know nothing about Sonic or how amazing the Chao Garden is, hear me out. The Chao Garden is a perfectly fine and an acceptable place to spend your time. You can farm Chao and raise them up to win minigames and all sorts of things. For a lot of reasons, this might even be the most polished portion of the game. But for something that is completely optional, I hate that you have to put so much time in the Chao Garden to fully 100% the game. I think there are 2 types of people in this world. People who like raising Chao and having the garden, and people who just want to play a standard Sonic game without the extra bells and whistles of a pet sim as a side distraction. If you like the Chao Garden, congratulations, you are god tier. But for peasants like me, this is not worth my time. Like, I want to know why Chaos is an emo little water monster, not raise the things it couldn't protect. That's why I have no footage of the Chao Garden whatsoever. Well, except for this quick shot where I went to the wrong elevator in the Station Square Hotel. Sonic Adventure was the first game ever in the Sonic series to feature an epilogue once the initial stories available to the player were completed. And let me tell you, I think it ties everything up nicely. There is only one level, and that is the final boss fight against Perfect Chaos, and we'll get into that. But first, let's talk about how everything ties together. I will warn you though, we are getting into spoiler territory, so skip to the time posted below if you don't want the ending ruined for you. Okay, let us begin. Throughout each character's story, we get bits and pieces of Chaos's, and by extension an echidna named Tikal's, past. All culminating with the last story where Tikal shows us the final scene. You see, in ancient times, the echidnas were at war and seeking an ultimate power to defeat their rivals. This power rested with Chaos and Chao at the shrine, where the Master and 7 Chaos Emeralds called home. Tikal, the daughter of the echidna's chief, Pakamak, would come to the altar to study and pray, eventually forming a bond with the creatures there, including Chaos. Unfortunately, the echidna tribe became greedy, and despite warnings from Tikal, eventually attacked the shrine, setting it ablaze and murdering numerous Chao. This angered Chaos and unleashed the darkness in the monster's heart, leading it to kill off the echidnas. Off screen, of course. Until Tikal used her prayers to seal Chaos and herself away. Back in the present, we learned that while Dr. Eggman was planning to use Chaos to level Station Square to build his ultimate theme park, Robotnik Land, Chaos had his own agenda. Wreck everyone and leave. Now, in his perfect form, Chaos levels Station Square, and it's now up to Sonic and his friends to stop him. Somehow, using the positive energy of the Chaos Emeralds, the crew manages to restore them, and Sonic transforms into Super Sonic. And this is my favorite fight in the game. Sonic has to avoid obstacles and accumulate speed in order to basically attack Chaos's brain and purify the creature. It's like a kaiju-sized lobotomy. The mechanic is great and the level design just works. Well, by level design, I mean several long hallways. Plus, the music. Open Your Heart plays during the first half, and then we get this awesome ending piece to finish things off. And this all culminates with Chaos being restored and Sonic rushing off into the sunset. This ending, in my opinion, caps off the story nicely. Does it make the plot great overall? Maybe compared to a Saturday morning cartoon. But it works, and it's one hell of a way to go out with a bang. To this day, I'm still a huge fan of Sonic Adventure. It definitely has its warts. I won't say it's aged gracefully, but I think the game has gotten a lot of crap over the years where it didn't deserve. It was very ambitious on the part of Sonic Team, and there's still so much to love for both fans of the series and platforming enthusiasts in general. I know Sonic fans have been clamoring for a remake for quite some time now, and hopefully one day we get it, because there's so much to enjoy here. Right now, as of this video's release, Sonic Frontiers is on the horizon, and it's looking to take the series in a bold new direction. If it's successful, I don't see Sega going back to the formula of this game, and that's a little sad. But I still hope that we get something that feels just as special as this game did back when it released all those years ago. Anyway, if you watched until the end, thanks for sticking around. I'll catch you guys next time. But until then, this is Troysicle, signing out.